So, if you're really us, from the future, then what number are we thinking of?
66, because this is episode 66.
Damn it. Alright, well...
This should have been episode 69. I mean,
It really should.
You are choosing the 69th episode, Lugia.
Well, fuck me. Oh, well, what's done is done.
Oh, well.
I'll think of something funny.
You can flip the other 6 upside down. You can flip the other 6 upside down to make a 9. I don't know.
Time will tell. Anyway, welcome back to another episode of It's Always Sunny in Hollywood. Today we're going to be...
Welcome to the most excellent episode of... Oh, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
God damn it, you guys are better at this than me. I
have a lot of free time on my hands.
I believe this podcast has taken a most serious turn.
The most bodacious of events have occurred at this point in time. But anyway, today we are going to be talking about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I am your host, Lugia, and joining me are...
My name is Patrick. Radical.
And I am Red Theodore Logan. Nah. Reodor Logan? Okay, I don't know. I'm Red.
Nice.
Well, before we get in, did you know that they are making Kung Fu Panda 4? Got announced.
I did.
I was aware of this, yes.
And I also heard that Sonic 3 is officially happening.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, I know for some reason I thought they announced Sonic 3 already.
Well, they did, but now they announced a release date and that it's officially going to start production.
Oh, cool. What's the release date?
December 2024.
And Kung Fu Panda 4 is March 8th, 2024.
You know what else they're making?
What else?
A PacMan movie.
What?
No.
Yes, they are.
When was this?
This was a few days. According to the Hollywood Reporter, this was August 8th.
So I guess we got the whole trio then. Because Sonic, Mario, and Pac-Man, I'd say those are probably the 3 most well-known characters.
So Pac-Man's missing his wife because of copyright reasons.
Yeah.
How would you make a Pac-Man movie? If we're just going off of the arcade
They stole my wife, Tails.
I mean, if we're just going off of the original arcade game, like, what would you do?
Well, there was that television show. What was it? Ghostly Adventures? Probably something like that.
There was also...
I hope they draw more from Pac-Man World than Ghostly Adventures.
I've never watched Ghostly Adventures.
Yeah, it's not great. I have the game also, and...
Wasn't there that one point in the show where Pac-Man inflates himself and he's like, "Aw, man, I'm a meme." I feel like that kind of represents what the show is about. I haven't really seen a whole lot of it.
The only thing I know about the show is the theme song.
Listen, Pac-Man the Ghostly Adventures was like Sonic Boom, but written worse. I don't know, you could probably make a decent Pac-Man show, honestly.
You could, but honestly, this wasn't even my first choice for a movie about a hungry, round video game character. Where's my Kirby movie?
Yes.
I want a Kirby movie. Specifically, I want John Goodman as King Dedede. I will accept no one else.
I just want an edgy Kirby movie where he fights demons and gods. I mean, that's literally what happens in the games anyway, so it's not like it'd be deriving away from the source material.
I have a slight idea for a Kirby movie. It's not fully fleshed out, but it involves Kirby and his friends falling to Earth, and he discovers how good Earth food is, and he creates like a bunch of crop circles from the tomato fields, and everybody's like, what the fuck? It's a stupid idea, I know, but I feel like I could flesh it out more.
Ask Nintendo. They might have a job for you.
Just do a beat-for-beat recreation of Nope, but it's Kirby instead of that alien.
I don't know, I feel like Kirby would land on Earth, be like, wow, the tomatoes here are really good! And just eat everything.
Yeah. God, what's a video game character I'd like to make a movie of? I guess Zelda would be the obvious choice, but I'm more of a sci-fi guy, so I guess I'll say I'd really like a Mega Man thing. They've had some decent comics and storylines about Mega Man. I'd probably make a decent...
You could probably do something with the X and Zero series.
Nah, but let's stick with the original, make it a bit funny. I don't know. I like the Archie Mega Man comics. Those are pretty good.
What about you, Lugia? What video game movie would you want?
Surprisingly, the first thing that came to mind was Devil May Cry. Because I feel like they could make something great from using the third game, then the first game, and then I don't know, maybe something with Nero. Probably not 4, but who knows?
Probably like mix and match like different plots and stuff, because like that's what like the Sonic movies did. It's not like a direct adaptation.
Yeah.
But yeah, you probably could make a decent Devil May Cry movie. Focus on like the brother conflict.
Yeah, especially with the third game with Dante and Virgil. I feel like there could be a lot done with that.
It'd be like Face Off or Heat, but with demons.
And pizza.
And speaking of pizza, that's probably something Bill and Ted like. Want to talk about the movie now?
All right.
Yeah.
So, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yes. Excellent.
So this movie was released on February 17th, 1989, and it was directed by Stephen Herrick. I am unfamiliar with this man's work, but I'm pretty sure he's also made some other excellent things in his time. This movie had a budget of $10 million, and it grossed around $40 million, so this was pretty successful. Although $10 million, even at the time, was considered a pretty low budget, and that did kind of bite them during production, which we'll get into a little bit later. The screenplay was written by Ed Solomon and Chris Matheson. Matheson? There's an E in there. I don't know if it's silent or not.
You said Ed Solomon, right?
Yes.
I swear, for a second, I thought you said Ed Sullivan.
I was thinking the exact same thing when I was researching
Ed
this.
Sullivan. Anyway.
When we gonna get to Bye Bye Birdie 2?
Not for another while.
You don't know that.
I don't know. It's not on my agenda.
Okay, but anyway.
Oh wait, here's a fun fact. So Ed Solomon, he's the writer of the Super Mario Bros. Movie.
The one from 1993?
Yep.
Wow.
And he also wrote like good movies like Men in Black. But yeah.
Okay, so he's experienced more or less.
No, actually, this was both of their first screenplays. This is how they got their start.
Oh.
And in actuality, the screenplay was actually based off of a stand-up comedy routine they did in college. They even cameo in the movie too. They're in the ice cream scene with Napoleon like pigging in the ice cream.
Oh, were they the two guys who like brought the waiters?
I believe so. Yes.
Ah, all right.
Cool. First draft was handwritten. It was hilarious. Okay, cool.
The role of Rufus is a very interesting one because initially it was supposed to be given to Eddie Van Halen because of the amount of Van Halen references that are still in the movie. But it wasn't possible because of the movie's low budget. So obviously he wouldn't think it's worth it because he wouldn't be paid as much. So
instead they went with one of the most famous comedians in the world.
It wasn't going to be him initially. In fact, it was going to be passed around to like Ringo Starr, Charlie Sheen, and a couple of other people before the team realized, wait, these guys aren't comedians. So eventually, by pure chance, it was given to George Carlin.
George Carlin is just one of those guys who appears in the most random things. Like, he's the narrator in Thomas. He appeared in Cars. He's in Bill and Ted.
But like,
he's just like, yeah, why not?
Honestly, I think he was the best choice.
Yeah, and outside of all of his movie roles, he's literally the most critically acclaimed comedian of all time. I'm like, this is kind of hilarious.
I was like, who doesn't love George Carlin?
He's probably one of my favorite comedians, if I'm being real. I love that man. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
A couple of other things. The water parks where they filmed, they were unable to get the water parks to close because of the low budget again. So when they were filming, they literally just filmed with a bunch of paying customers in the background. And you can imagine how hectic that got. And one interesting thing that I want to do before we move on is discuss the initial ending. So the ending was going to be a little less excellent, if I could put it one way. It was just going to be Bill and Ted passing their report in a small classroom. Like, they wouldn't have the whole show in the auditorium. And afterwards, they'd go to prom with the princesses. So let's just say the ending was a lot better in the final product. But yeah.
In the final product, we get to see George Carlin play a rad lick.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, can I say one fun fact? 'Cause I thought it was always pretty funny.
Go ahead.
So, originally the time machine was gonna be a van, or yeah, 1969 Chevrolet, but it was abandoned because it was, too close to the DeLorean concept from Back to the Future with, the vehicle that travels them through time. So instead they changed it to a phone booth, not realizing that's very similar to Doctor Who, but none of them knew what Doctor Who was, so they changed it to avoid being called a ripoff of one thing while accidentally making it a ripoff of something else. Oops.
It
Most
worked out in the
non-triumphant.
end.
Yeah, most non-triumphant. Anyway, shall we have the most triumphant of discussions?
I think we shall.
Yes. So,
Party on.
what is the plot
Um,
of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? Well, if I could describe it one way, two high school boys, Bill Preston Esquire and Ted Theodore Logan, are two members of a band that only has two members. And they want to have the most excellent time making music on instruments they don't know how to play. But there's just one problem. They're failing their history course. And if they don't get an A+ on the final oral report by the end of the semester, Ted will be sent to military school by request of his father. And if the two are separated, that will not be excellent, I guess. There's some weird shit about the future.
they need to write a song because their song literally just like changes the world. It's just saves everyone. Basically,
If they
basically,
fail this class, society is fucked.
Well, yeah.
yeah. Basically, the joke is that their song literally causes world peace. Just single-handedly, they just write a song that's so bitching, it fundamentally changes the fabric of the world. So they just have to use this time machine to get a bunch of historical figures, and it basically becomes like a little episodic adventure with them meeting historical figures with what I like to describe oddly very smart jokes. It's like I would say it's just getting into my thoughts about the movie. This movie is really dumb, but it's written by people that are really smart. That's how I describe the movie.
That's a good way to put
Yeah.
it, actually.
Because there's like a lot of jokes that are really funny in like a very clever way.
One of my favorite jokes is a moment. I'm not even sure if it was meant to be a joke, but it's when Bill and Ted are talking to Deacon. It's when they're talking to Deacon from behind the baseball fence about how he lost Napoleon, and then when they're done talking, the camera reveals that they didn't need to talk to him from the fence because it just cuts off. It immediately ends where they were talking to him. So they
Yeah.
could have just talked face to face. That made me laugh really hard for some reason, and I'm not even sure if it was meant to be a joke.
No, it was meant to be a joke. It's just that's a visual gag. Yeah.
I know it's a very subtle gag, but I liked that one a lot.
Out of all the jokes, there was one that I was like, this probably hasn't aged well, and it's the one like after they beat the knight and they hug each other. And
Yeah,
then
yeah. They dropped the slur, but yeah. Other than that, it's pretty.
Yeah, that's like the one thing of this movie that has not aged well. But other than that, this is very well written.
Yeah, a lot of really funny historical jokes throughout.
Let's be real. Who didn't call Socrates Socrates growing up?
Man,
But yeah,
Socrates looks terrified throughout the entire movie. He's like, he just has this face on him, like,
Yeah.
I don't even know.
He doesn't
Yeah, I
even know what a
thought a lot
phone
of
booth
the,
is. Poor bastard.
I thought the actors for a lot of the whatchamacallit,
Historical figures.
historical figures, they were pretty funny. Like Abraham Lincoln, Freud, like they all of them had like for basically being like very small roles, like the actors really made the most out of it because I found them all to be like pretty distinct and like funny.
I gotta give full credit that they have the historical figures actually speaking in their native language, which is something like that I don't really see happen a lot. At least
Genghis Khan just kind of yells.
I know, but I mean, Napoleon speaks French, Socrates speaks Greek. I just want to give full credit for that because that makes sense. They would speak that way. It's not like you go back in time to like Italy or whatever, and everybody's speaking English. That's not how it worked.
Yeah. What'd you guys think of the mom gag?
I don't get that.
Okay.
It leads up to an Oedipus complex joke at the end, but that's really about it.
But here's the thing. Okay, so you guys have not seen the sequels, right?
No.
No.
Definitely watch the sequels because they managed to make that joke really fucking funny in Bill and Ted 2. You know, I guess it's like one of the first jokes in the movie. Can I just tell you guys?
Sure.
Okay, so you know how he's married to Bill's mom,
Mhm.
Bill's dad?
Mhm.
In the sequel, they get a divorce and she marries Ted's dad. And I'm like, I just think it's funny how like they just flipped that around.
Dude, that's my mom.
Yeah, it's like that's my mom. Well, that's my ex-mom. Yeah, they do some funny stuff with it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's funny, but here it's just kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure which one I like more. I honestly think I like Bill and Ted 2 a little bit more just because it goes a little bit out there. Was Ted's dad doing an impression of him in this movie, or was that the second one? I can't remember.
I don't recall him trying to pull an impression.
Nor do
Okay,
I.
then yeah, okay, then that was definitely the second one. Okay, so yeah, I think the second movie is like just I like that a little bit more, especially because so George Carlin he leaves the movie pretty quickly. In the second one, we have a character play the Grim Reaper, Death, because this movie is they go on a bit of a different adventure, but
A bogus adventure.
a bogus journey, yes. Yeah, the second movie is not a rehash of the first one. Like, it's not just them going through time again. It's actually a pretty creative thing. But basically they meet Death, and Death just like joins them for the journey. Like, Death is essentially George Carlin's role, but they just keep him around like the entire picture, and it's great. It's like I don't know if you're a fan of like the Discworld books. Like, I don't know, it's pretty funny. But yeah, I think 2 is just a smidge better, but it's pretty. They're both like pretty hilarious. I'd recommend them both. I've not seen the third one yet, but I also heard that was pretty good. Yeah, they really upped the ante.
Do you know
And
what
this
the
is
third
already a
movie's
pretty-
about?
Third movie, they save the music.
I
I mean, that's just the title. I don't know.
I know the third movie involves their daughters, and their daughters are basically just doing an impression of them, which is pretty funny. So we kind of like follow both of them, and so who knows? Maybe they'll make like a sequel with the daughters, because the daughters like do like a. I saw clips of it, and they do like a pitch perfect impression. It's kind of hilarious. Like,
Well, speaking of Bill and Ted Save the Music, can we talk about the soundtrack for a second?
Go right
Yeah.
ahead.
This soundtrack slaps, man.
Absolutely.
Like, that song during the mall sequence, that was like, I had never heard that song before, but like immediately after the movie was done, I'm like, I need to add this.
You know, Beethoven though going ham on the keyboards.
yeah.
It's got that all out 80s funk in here. I mean, this is the late 80s, so just cram all the best of it into that soundtrack.
The princesses stuff was a bit funny.
I thought they'd be a little more prominent after Bill and Ted are like, "Don't worry, we'll save you," and then we don't see them until like the end of the movie.
Yeah, the princesses are like they end up becoming like their like wives in the future. Like they stay together throughout all the movies, but they aren't particularly prominent. Yeah.
At the
Well,
beginning
after
of
all,
the
it's Bill
movie,
and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yes.
Bill and Ted, no one else. But at the beginning of the movie, when they realized that they're late for school, I was fully expecting they'd pull like a Back to the Future and show a sequence where they're trying to get to school really quickly with some 80s rock song playing. And now it's just a white transition. I don't know, I was fully expecting it, but I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not mad,
Yeah.
I was expecting something.
Now, can I talk about some bullshit with you guys? So this
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
80s, and I don't think what happens in the 80s directly correlates to present time, but Bill and Ted are failing their history class. They've pretty much flunked on everything except the final oral report. How the fuck do they pass the class after that? That is not at
know.
all how the United States education system works. If you fuck up, you fuck up. There's no turning
Well,
back.
maybe
Hey.
the education system was different in the late 80s.
Actually, education system was like, listen, we grew up when No Child Left Behind was in place, so like they would have moved on regardless. But like, nah, in the '80s, like you could just straight up flunk out. So yeah, they just put on the most triumphant of presentations, and they just got an A for the whole class. I guess.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's
don't know.
more
The
of a
teacher-
college.
I assume they
That's
didn't
more
get
of
an
a
A
college
for the
thing.
class.
I
From
don't
the
know,
way
the
it sounded,
te-
they
the
just
teacher-
needed enough to straight up pass. So maybe they got out with
teacher
like a
just-
D, but
The teacher just told them if they passed the final exam, they passed the class.
Which is
I don't know.
that's a thing in college, but that's not a thing in high school. Like I've
I
had
don't know.
classes in college where it's basically like if you pass the test, if you pass the final, I'll pass you for the class, regardless of
I don't
everything
know.
else.
It's a movie. It's a movie. Don't take
In
it so
the
seriously, I
80s.
guess.
Yes. Speaking of which, this movie is so incredibly 80s, which I find funny because Bill and Ted 2 is very 90s. So it's like they're able to like sort of capture their decade pretty well.
Is it safe to say
Got it
that
all.
Is it safe to say that the '90s started with Bill and Ted?
I thought
No, because
that'd be
I'd
Wayne's
say
World.
this. I'd say this feels like very 80s. Wayne's World is kind of like it's an interesting comparison to compare Wayne's World to this.
Yeah, I did get Wayne's World vibes, especially in the beginning when they're filming themselves.
Yeah, they're pretty different, but like there's like if you like Bill and Ted, you'd probably like Wayne's World, I'd say.
Before we wrap up here, I do have one question. What was the significance of Bill and Ted going into the future for that one scene? Because they show up, a bunch of people from the future are like, "Oh my god," and they're like, "This music is pretty cool. All right, we're gonna get out now. See ya."
Wasn't that because of a malfunction in the phone booth?
I guess, but
Like from a screenplay.
I
Okay,
don't
I
know.
think it was
I don't
just
know. I
like to
feel
show the future that like Bill and Ted would end up creating
well. I
because
mean, we already saw the future in the beginning with George Carlin, and even later when he says, "I'm going on my mission now," and
yeah, I
they
think
summon
they
the
just
time
thought it'd be
machine.
like a funny gag just for them to be able to see their future.
I guess.
Um,
I don't know. I feel like if you
um
cut that scene out, nothing would really change.
yeah, fair enough. But it's an episodic movie, so you can really cut out a
It
lot.
doesn't break anything. It's just it was a weird inclusion.
Yeah. Apparently the characters say dude 70 times and excellent 30 times.
Oh, you kept track.
No, I was just in some trivia on IMDb. I
Oh.
was just scrolling through.
How many times did they
Um,
say Bill and Ted? Separately.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I do have one more fun fact that I want to share. It's more
Go
personal,
for it.
but yeah, right. So in college, I had a professor, great guy, love the man. When I asked him what one of his favorite movies was, surprisingly, this is the very first one that he said, along with a couple of other things. And that just like blew my mind because after knowing him for so long, this being one of his favorite movies, it somehow did not correlate in my mind. Like how?
What subject did he teach?
Television production.
Ah,
I guess everyone's got like the dumb comedies that they all like because like me like one of my favorite movies is Superbad and like you look at the rest of my top 10, they're all like this pretentious it's like, oh yes, I love Ignar Bergman's The Seventh Seal, and I also really like The Nice Guys starring Ryan Gosling.
yeah. We all have that one weird movie in our catalog that we call back to.
Yeah, it's
That's like, oh,
dumb,
it's one of my
but
favorites.
it's an enjoyable kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would recommend this movie. Thumbs up for me.
8 out of 10.
Yeah, I like this one. It's not deep or really complex in any way. It doesn't do anything amazing, but it's a solid comedy.
If you're looking for time travel movies, I would obviously recommend Back to the Future, but like this is a good second pick.
Yeah. It's a good watch with friends.
So, that was quick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Bill and Ted. There's really not much to analyze here.
Yeah, and I've been trying to ease up on the news sections lately. I only mentioned one or two things that we can get into, but
Honestly,
yeah.
I like what we did, where we just spew out what we think is interesting to each other.
Yeah.
Like if it holds water, we'll keep talking.
And we just got into a Pac-Man tangent.
We
Yeah,
did.
and we like
I don't
those
know.
tangents.
I
Those are
like the
best parts.
tangents. I like the tangents. I think it's fun.
So yeah. All right. So it is your recommendation, right, Patrick?
Indeed, it is. And all right. Well, with this next film, we're not going to be doing any more time traveling, but we are heading back into sequel territory.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm. And this is one that I've been thinking about for a while now.
Is this a sequel to a movie we've already seen? For the podcast.
Let me say my thing.
Okay.
Let me say my thing. When it comes to this film series, this is the one installment that I know the least about. And I'm just curious to see if it's any good or not. So, for next week, we're heading back into the water with Jaws 2.
Oh, okay.
So yes, it is a sequel to a movie we've talked about.
I was not expecting Jaws.
What were you expecting?
Godfather 2.
I haven't talked about Godfather.
I know. But you left it ambiguous as to whether or not it's a movie we saw.
Because I want it to be ambiguous.
Yes.
Jaws.
We're
Have you
gonna-
guys seen any of the Jaws sequels?
No, I
I have
haven't
not.
actually.
Only Jaws 1. I've seen Jaws 1 a couple times. I can just...
Yeah, I want to talk about this because I've only seen Jaws 1. I've heard how awful 3 and 4 are, but I've never heard anyone bring up 2 in any capacity. The most I've heard is that it's the best of the sequels, but that
That's
could really
not
mean
saying
anything.
much.
Not really, because Jaws 2 is in a weird place. It's a follow-up to one of the greatest movies ever made, immediately followed by 2 of the worst sequels ever made.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing at best it's gonna be pretty good. At worst, it's gonna be mediocre.
You know,
I'm thinking
when you
somewhere in
said-
between.
You
We'll
know, when
see.
you said that we're not going back to the past, it took like immense willpower for me to not say to play the shitty games that suck ass.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's a Bill and Ted video game made by LJN that AVGN talked about, where you
Oh,
jump
right.
on
Yeah, I
grass
forgot
like a
about
dumbass.
Yes. There's also some Wayne's World video games you talked about.
I think there was also a Universal attraction too, for Halloween.
God. Now I'm gonna see if there's a Jaws or Jaws 2 video games we can talk about next time. I don't know.
I know there's a Jaws game on Xbox. I think there is a Jaws game for the NES.
There is one. I don't know if the sequels have a game.
Probably
though.
not.
Yeah, anyway, pretty cool. We're
Plot
gonna be
twist.
doing
Plot twist. They made a Jaws 3 video game for the Virtual Boy.
Not gonna lie, I was hoping for Scream 2, but alright. Beggars can't be choosers.
yeah, this is gonna be pretty fun. I don't think we've ever had a direct sequel to an episode before.
We have not. I'm breaking the mold.
Alright.
Yes. Yeah. We've only just had like same directors, and this isn't the same director, so that's gonna be cool.
Nope. This is Janot Swark. I probably messed that up. He's a French guy.
Not gonna lie, I always expected the first sequel we were gonna do for this was gonna be Suburban Nights, but I just
That's a-
don't want to talk about it.
That's a sequel?
To Caucasia, yeah. There's continuity. There is continuity between like the Doug Walker movies. Like they are
Oh my
directly
God.
following up events.
Are you kidding me? The Doug Walker cinematic universe is real?
Yes, bro. The events of Taboli Flea is directly like about Mati dying in Suburban Nights. Like these movies got lore, man. These are not like one-offs.
Oh
That's
god.
why we had to do it in order because like they reference events in the past movies and
Oh,
the past
that's-
reviews. Oh,
Well, that's entirely up to you when we get to it, because that is not on my agenda by a long
that's not
mile.
mine. I am not talking about that for next time.
We got Jaws 2 next, baby.
Yes.
Jaw 2 Electric Boogaloo. I actually saw the movie that had the subtitle Electric Boogaloo. Breakin' 2.
Jaw- Jaws 2, Rise of Gru.
It's just breakdancing. That's literally the movie.
I mean, breaking. What did you expect? People to just break mirrors and windows and...
For some
Throughout-
reason, I
I
thought
don't
this
know.
would be called Jaws 2: The Revenge, but then I realized no,
That's
that's
the
Jaws
la-
4.
That's the last one.
Yeah, but that's just called Jaws: The Revenge. It's not even called Jaws 4: The Revenge. So I'm just annoyed. Yeah, Jaws 2.
Jaws Forever.
Jaws 5, I'm still alive, bitch.
They should have made the S a 2, so it's like Jaw 2. It like reads as Jaws, but like
Jaw 2,
like
Scroforum.
Scriforum. Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, so how are we going to close this thing out?
Fuck.
This was the most triumphant of podcasts, dudes. Okay, 3, 2, 1. We say excellent at the same time. 3, 2, 1.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Okay, I think
Okay.
Patrick's on a delay.
Are you?
Probably.
Okay, I guess he is on
Probably.
a tour. I don't know. You could probably edit that in post.
No, I can't.
All right.
This is all one audio file. I can't.
All right then. Well. Bye.